Schunedetten. Inflation from Rome to the present. The silent tax of empires. I'm going to tell you a story that begins thousands of years ago and ends today, in your wallet. In AD 64, Roman Emperor Nero was facing one of the greatest financial crises of the empire. Wars were expensive, palaces were expensive, entertaining the people was expensive, and the treasury was empty. So what did Nero do? Did he raise taxes? No, because that would cause rebellion. Did he cut spending? No, because that would weaken his power. Instead, he found a much smarter, much more insidious method. He devalued the money. He took Rome's silver coins, reduced the silver content by 10%, and released the same coin back into circulation as if nothing had happened. No one noticed, at least not at first. But over the years, prices began to rise, people's purchasing power eroded, and the empire quietly stole wealth from its citizens. This is the true face of inflation, an invisible tax, a silent theft, the oldest tool the powerful use to exploit the weak. And today, 2,000 years later, the same game is still being played. Only now, instead of silver coins, there are digital numbers, and instead of emperors, there are central banks. What Nero did is known in history as currency debasement. Every emperor who came after him used the same method, slightly less silver, slightly more copper. In AD 211, Roman coins were 50% silver. By the 200s, that ratio had fallen to 5%. So what happened? Prices exploded. The price of a sack of wheat increased 200 times over 200 years. Soldiers could no longer be paid. Farmers abandoned their land. Trade collapsed. And what did the people think? Merchants are greedy. The system is failing, they said. But no one saw the real cause. The emperor was quietly stealing from everyone's pockets. This is where inflation's psychological power lies. People don't understand the cause. They only see the consequences and attack the wrong targets. Just like today, when people say supermarkets are raising prices but fail to see the real issue, central banks printing money. Let's move to the Middle Ages. In the 14th century, King Philip IV of France reduced the gold content of gold coins to finance wars. Henry VIII did the same in England. So why didn't anyone revolt? Because inflation is gradual and invisible. If a king knocked on your door and said, "Give me your gold," you would revolt. But if the value of your money falls by 5% every year, you don't notice. You just say, "Life has gotten more expensive." That is inflation's greatest power. It hides the culprit. The same thing happens today. Central banks print trillions of dollars, but present it as stimulating the economy. In the 1920s, Weimar Germany experienced hyperinflation. After World War I, Germany printed money endlessly to pay war reparations. The result? In 1923, a loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. People carried their salaries in wheelbarrows. Retirees saw their life savings vanish overnight. And what did this chaos lead to? Social collapse, and eventually the rise of the Nazi Party. Hyperinflation was not just an economic disaster, it was a political earthquake. Today, Turkey, Argentina, and Venezuela are living the same story. Money is printed, prices explode, people grow poorer. And every time, governments say the same thing. Foreign powers, speculators are to blame. But the truth is simple. Excessive money printing creates inflation, and inflation destroys society. Because inflation exploits the weak points of human psychology. People see today, not tomorrow. You feel happy when you receive a paycheck today, but you don't notice that its purchasing power is eroding every year. Behavioral economics calls this money illusion. People focus on nominal values, not real values. If your salary increases by 10%, you feel richer, but if inflation is 15%, you are actually getting poorer. Thanks to this illusion, governments collect their silent taxes and no one revolts. Modern central banks are full-fledged inflation machines. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, all of them set a 2% inflation target. Why? Because inflation erodes debt, and the modern economy is built on debt. If there is inflation, debts become less valuable over time. Who benefits? Governments and large corporations. Who suffers? Savers, ordinary people. If you save money, inflation is your enemy. This is the cunning of the modern financial system. Make everyone indebted, mortgages, car loans, credit cards, and then erode those debts through inflation. But who wins? Banks and asset owners. Who loses? The middle and lower classes who live on wages and savings. After the 2008 crisis, central banks printed trillions of dollars under the name quantitative easing. Where did that money go? To banks, stock markets, and real estate. Stock prices soared, housing prices skyrocketed. And who owns these assets? The wealthy. What did the middle class gain? Inflation. Food, rent, education, healthcare all became more expensive, while official inflation figures appeared low. This is the deception of the system. They say inflation is 2%, but housing prices have risen 50%. You are getting poorer, but the statistics say everything is fine. So what should you do? First step, understand inflation. Inflation is the loss of purchasing power of money. Second step, protect your savings, real estate, gold, skills. Simply holding cash is becoming poorer. Third step, avoid the debt trap. Fourth step, see the game of the system, follow central banks, watch the money supply, calculate real inflation. Fifth step, collective awareness. If enough people understand that inflation is a silent tax, the system can change. Inflation is not just an economic concept, it is a mechanism of power. Roman emperors knew it, modern central banks know it, and now you know it too. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge?